Hi scholars, today we are going to be starting Unit 7, so we're going to take some notes. You should have your new science journal, your Biochemistry 1B science journal. If you have not yet picked that up from school, please go to campus at some point, and you should be able to ask them just right at the front for your 10th grade science kit. For Mrs. Wallace, you need to specify which teacher, and that they will be able to get that for you. So we are going to turn to page 11, and that's where you're going to be taking notes for our Unit 7 on bonding. Now we are going to be doing some review today. So we're going to review forms of matter. We did this way at the beginning of the school year, but we're going to touch on it again. So we're going to click on that. We can go straight to our forms of matter review. The first thing we're going to do is we're going to review some vocab that we already know. So the first word being atom, which is the basic building blocks for all matter. We've spent a lot of time talking about atoms. And then elements, which is a substance consisting of a single type of atoms. So a bunch of gold atoms are the element gold. A bunch of oxygen atoms are the element oxygen. That kind of thing. And then we are going to do a deep dive into the definition of molecules and compounds. So molecules, definition, is a group of atoms that are bonded together, and they represent the smallest fundamental unit of a chemical compound. So molecules, again, and atoms, once they're bonded together, they are called a molecule, and that's the key idea here. Characteristics of molecules: they have at least two atoms bonded together. The atoms can be the same or they can be different. So you might have seen in our PhET simulation that we did that two oxygens bonded together is an oxygen molecule. So those two atoms make up a molecule. And some examples: oxygen, hey, look at that. Ozone, water, carbon dioxide, sulfuric acid. Those are all examples of molecules. So take a second right now. Pick one of those and draw the other model, the space filling model that we practiced with today, under the picture section of your notes page. So in here, you've got the little box for drawing a picture. Draw a model of one of those molecules. Next up, we have compounds. So compounds are a chemical substance that's formed when two or more different elements bond in a specific proportion. So that's saying like O2, two oxygen atoms bonded together, is a molecule, but it's not a compound because the two atoms are the same. Characteristics: you have at least two different elements, and the elements lose their individual chemical properties and have new properties. So we might remember sodium. So if we look over here under our kind of examples and pictures we have over here, we remember that sodium is a very explosive metal, and we know that chlorine is a very poisonous gas, right? Because they're very reactive, 1 valence electrons, 7 valence electrons. So those have particular properties that are very, very toxic as elements. However, when they are bonded together as compounds, they become just table salt, just plain old table salt. So that is the difference between the pure elements of those two substances and then when they are bonded together in a compound. There's a video here. I'm not actually going to play it in this slide presentation. It's really just a review of these kinds of things. You can watch it if you'd like. I will put the link into the note slides if you want to look at that. And now, what I'm going to have you do now, you will see the same image in your notes pages. And these little pictures on the right over here, I want you to put them in the correct bubbles. So are they compounds? So you'll notice that all compounds are molecules, and some elements are molecules. So this is kind of like a very complex Venn diagram. So figure out if these were all representing different atoms, each of these different colored shapes was a different atom, and the ones that are touching each other are bonded together, then figure out if they would go under compound, molecule, or element. If it's an element that's also a molecule, or if it's a molecule that's not a compound, or if it's compound, which is also a molecule. Take a second and do that. So here's the correct answer for those. You'll notice that the compounds all have multiple different colored shapes in there, whereas the ones that are bonded together but are molecules, we're looking at the same two shapes. So that would represent the same two atoms of an element bonded together. Whereas the elements that are not molecules, it's just a single atom of the element by itself. We're going to do another quick practice. You're not going to grab a partner. Your partner is yourself. And you are going to check the box for whether it's a molecule, compound, or an element. And it might be one, it might be two of these things. It will not be all three of them. So remember, compounds are all molecules, but elements can also sometimes be molecules. You can see the rule kind of down there. And the correct answers are, for oxygen, it is a molecule but also an element because there's two oxygen atoms. Sodium chloride, or NaCl, is a molecule that is a compound. CH4 is a molecule that's a compound because it has two different elements. H2 is a molecule that is an element, and H is just an element because there's only one atom. And that is it for today.